As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Alright, hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Sleeping with the Numbers podcast. Dylan here. We made a comeback after, 3-4 weeks of just pure downfall, it felt like, especially with the model. I have really been picking up for the model slack. It's not been super impressive. The model, after 3 weeks of it performing extremely well, I kind of did call out that I did not expect that to continue, and here we are. As things change, variables change, the model almost gets confused. Now, on paper, I read off these picks, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see that, stuff like that. And it just has not been working out very well. So, like, even this week, this past week, week 9, model went 6-7 on the bets. Not great there. However, it did come back with the picks. It ended up going 9-5, so that's better there. Over 50% for the season for the model on picking winners, 51.88%. I'm whooping its ass in that category at 63.16%. On the spread for picks, I've been 58.27%, pretty solid there. Over under, very, very similar, 58.91%. The model, however, hitting only at a 46.018% clip. That profit loss has plummeted from what it was, in the ROI even lower, 5.18 units. So still profit's profit. Can't really complain so much there. 4.58% ROI. Combined with the bets I make, recall that would be the over-unders, the spreads. Win rate on the spread, 65%, for 14.62 units. Win rate on the over-unders, 61.364%. That's going to include the under for the Chicago-Carolina game. Model almost did hit on that one. It did have Carolina, but that was such a mess of a game that you just don't even want to watch it. If you had Foreman on your team, you're probably pretty stoked there because he outperformed what the expectations likely were. But for the year, we are still profitable if you are following along with all of our bets. Again, these bets can be found sleepingwiththenumbers.com/bets. Currently still up 42.66 units. Remember, everyone's unit is different. I bet with $10 units, so that puts me up $426.60. There's probably some pennies in there, but I have it rounded. So again, that's pretty solid there, being up that much. Overall return on investment of 15.35%. Still pretty happy with that. Basically, halfway through the season at this point, so it'll be worth, maybe next week we go through the over-under win total picks to see where we are there, and then we can kind of look forward to see if any of my predictions for playoffs, Super Bowl winners have changed since then. Sadly, I think the defensive player of the year is leaning towards the Myles Garrett direction. I still have confidence that TJ can pick it up here in this final half of the season, but we'll see what happens there. But let's get into the picks for week 10. Like I said, this episode coming out on a Saturday. So the Carolina-Chicago game has already come and passed. The model did pick Carolina, which did not hit. I had the under for that game, which did hit. So, podcast, it will release before Sunday if an episode is coming out. So if you do want to keep up to date with the bets that are placed, still the best place to do that is the website, sleepingwiththenumbers.com/bets. Let's get into it. We have another German game. The Indianapolis Colts at 4-5 taking on the 2-7 Patriots. That's one team win over under that not looking great for me. The Patriots are still dogs here. Colts a -2 favorite. Over under set at 43. I do tend to lead towards the under here. Even though I think I brought it up either last week or the week before, the Colts have been hitting the over pretty often. If we count through here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of their 9 games have been the over. So they are also the only team that has put up 20 plus points in every single game, which is absolutely shocking. So I lean the Colts side here. They are favored, like I said. The model also leaning on the Colts here. They are favored at minus 120, giving them a 25.911% edge. Model giving them an 80.457% win probability. So model really liking the Colts here, and I tend to agree. I believe if we check out the best odds page on the website, I think you can find the Colts at minus 1.5 as well. You can get up actually -1, which even better, at lowvig.ag. So again, some tools there on the website to help you find the best odds for spread and money line if you want to check that out. No real disagreements here. Like I said, I'm with the Colts. I lean under here, even though the Colts have been putting up numbers here before. I don't think the Patriots can. So under 43 is what I'm looking at. Super interesting matchup. The 4-4 Texans taking on the 5-3 Bengals. Obviously, Houston, CJ Stroud coming off a massive comeback victory. Probably shouldn't have been a comeback victory, but it happened. Everyone's talking about it. It was awesome to watch. Does it happen again? Does that really throw them into, being a better team? I don't think so. And it looks like the odds makers don't think so as well, as the Bengals are 6.5 point home favorites, and we got an over-under of 47. I think that has come down a little bit since T. Higgins has been ruled out. Yeah, so it opened here, it looks like at around 48, and it has now dropped down to 47. It was at 46.5 for a little bit, but 47 is where I see it currently. T. Higgins rolled out. This is the second year in a row I have him on my fantasy team, and he's just annoying as all hell. It's either you play him and he does nothing, or he doesn't play because he's injured. He's always getting injured, and you have to play the game of, is he going to be in? Is he going to be out? And even if he's in, he'll play like 5 snaps and then sit out the rest of the game. It's the absolute most annoying thing here. Jamar Chase questionable to play after that back injury. Even if he's in, he's likely not going to be 100%. So given all that, I do lean towards the under of this game as well. The Texans, I know their offense has been high flying. Nico Collins is out. He's not going to be playing, so it's going to be Noah Brown and Tank Dell. So can they get it done? I don't know. But the point I'm really trying to make here is a lot of injuries here, and then the Cincinnati Bengals defense, they're not terrible. They're currently ranked 16th, middle of the pack. But I would say they're probably better than Tampa, who Houston came back against. So for this game, the model, I'm pretty sure, again, I bring this up just about every week, but it is super important, especially if you do plan on tailing what the model is picking. The model has no idea about these injuries. It is all statistics, and it is weighted based on how recent those statistics come in. So the model does have the Bengals to win by a lot. So 84.458% win probability, and that does give the Bengals an 11.125% edge. However, the odds are at minus 275. Anything less than minus 200, the model does not actually make a bet, which that feels good for me. So I think there might be a little bit of overconfidence here from the model, given it does not know about the injuries. So that's where I'm just a little bit weary. So keep that in mind there. I do like the under, like I said, and I also think I like the Texans to cover the 6.5 point spread. I think this will be a little bit closer than expected, in not the high-flying, high-scoring game that maybe it's easy to think of when you look at these two teams and how they've kind of performed in the past. So I do like Texans to cover here at 6.5. I think the Bengals still pull it out and win this game, but it is not going to be as super high scoring and nor as big of a blowout as kind of Vegas seems to be implying here. Next matchup here, New Orleans Saints taking on the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Vikings 2.5 point home dogs, an over-under of 41 points. This is also a kind of tricky one with that over-under. It's pretty low. 41 is pretty low. However, Saints defense is pretty solid. Vikings defense is not. Their offense is okay. They should be a little more cohesive this time around with Dobbs getting an extra practice in with the team. I really have no idea what to think of this team. Dobbs, obviously, fine enough. He got the win last week. Can he do it against a really good Saints defense? I don't know. The over-under 41, I do lean towards the under. For those reasons I pretty much stated. I think the Saints defense is good, and this offense is still new to Dobbs. I know he ended up with the victory, but that was against the Falcons, and the Falcons defense is not nearly as good as the Saints. So that's where I lean. However, with that said, I have like a super bias towards Derek Carr. I just think he's trash. And so I personally lean towards the Vikings winning this game. So I will be taking them to cover the 2.5 point spread and winning outright. The model is the exact opposite. The model thinks the Saints will win, 65.926% win probability, and it even found an edge of 7.592% at -140 for the Saints money line. So model and I facing off here. Let's see what happens. My brother will be at this game. Green Bay Packers taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers at home. 3-point home favorites. I don't know the last time they were favored. We have not been favored. Well, we were favored last week against Tennessee. And then we went 3 weeks being the dog, favored by 3 points against the Texans, and then got absolutely blown up. We've only been the favored team. This is the third time this season. So that's a little worrying. Somehow Tomlin keeps pulling it out, and he'll keep his over 500 win streak going here. But, as a Steelers fan watching them for all this time, I don't care about how often you win in the regular season. I would like another Super Bowl, please. So I think a lot of Pittsburgh fans feel the same way. Yes, it's an impressive streak, but who cares? That honestly does not mean much of anything. You're not getting extra championship rings. You haven't shown up to a Super Bowl in quite some time. And our win rate when in the playoffs with Tomlin isn't great. It's either we're like knocked out the first round or we make it the whole way. So not great in my opinion. I know people can feel differently, but that is how I feel about the team. Obvious bias here for me. I'm taking my boys to win, cover, and then over under at 38.5 points. Give me that under. The under has been fantastic for the Steelers. We've hit one over all season. That was back in week 2 against the Browns. So the statistics say take the under, and that's what I'm going with here. It has worked out pretty well so far. Matt Canada and crew against, the Packers, who have also just looked horrible. The model, however, likes the Packers to straight up win and found an edge of 23% at plus 160 for the Packers. I don't like that. So, you know how I feel. Obviously, some bias there to keep in mind when making your bets. 3-5 Titans taking on the 3-5 Bucks. The Bucks, a little shocking to me, are favored here at home, -2. Over under a 39.5. I do like that under as well. Listen, the unders have been fantastic this season. That's been the case for a few seasons in a row now. This season in particular, I think. I'll have to look at the over-under rate, but it just feels like every game's hitting that under. So that's almost always what I lean towards, in, especially in a case like this where I don't really believe in either offense. And, I mean, neither defense is great, but the offenses just can't do anything. You have Will Levis here, going to be the starter going forward, and then obviously Baker has been Baker his whole life. That sounds so stupid to say, but you know what to expect from him. So here, like I said, I'm surprised Tennessee. Tampa Bay is favored here, which obviously means I'll be taking Tennessee. I'm pretty sure I take Tennessee here to win and cover. Man, in my picks here, I did say Tampa Bay, but now I'm like backpedaling. That's one I got to check out. Maybe this is one I don't bet on at all. It's tough to bet on a rookie, but Tampa Bay has just really fallen off the wagon, and it's been pretty bad watching them. They should have got a win last week, obviously, but then CJ Stroud just came back and did incredible things to get the win. Model does like Tennessee to win, and will be taking them at plus 118 with a 10.5% edge. I don't blame. That makes sense in my mind. And obviously in the model's mind, based on the statistics, the defensive statistics for the Buccaneers look pretty bad. It's not like either one of these teams are putting up incredible numbers. But we have been able to see Will Levis play full game as a starter. So the model does take that into account now. So they have those statistics. So like I said before, switching up the it doesn't know like T. Higgins is out and stuff like that. What it does know is Will Levis stats now. Those are plugged into the model because he's had games where he was the starter. So tough one here. The only bet I think I'm at least a bit confident in is taking that under 39.5 points. Niners coming off their bye week. Thank God I get Christian McCaffrey back in my lineup. Taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. Niners come out as the 3-point away favorite. Over-under set at 45 points. Again, that feels like another under with how good the Niners defense is. They're ranked the number one defense on Pro Football Focus. They add Chase Young. So it just feels like it's going to be a nasty time for Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. Man, this is another one I don't feel super confident one way or another. I could see both teams pulling out a win. I think it's going to be an incredibly close game. With that said, that means I do lean towards the under 45 points. I can see both teams winning, and kind of when it's 50-50 like that, I tend to stay away from betting on spread and or winner. Spread though, if you do feel 50-50, it is usually the better pick to take the dog, which would be the Jags here at +3. I'm not a super fan of that line, but again, this feels like one I stay hands off. The model loves Jacksonville. Will be taking them to win, and this might be the biggest edge of the week at 52.34%. Obviously, statistically, the 49ers have had some bad games. They put up exactly 17 points 3 weeks in a row, 3 losses in a row, all games where they were the favorite. Not great. So almost in the model's mind, the model is probably in the back end spitting out numbers and is saying, okay, they've put up 17 exactly in the past 3 weeks. They're going to put up 17 this week. And that's likely what is going on here. Whereas on the opposite side of the field, the Jags, they're on a 5-game win streak. A handful of those games as a dog. So they beat the Steelers 2010. Saints 31-24, Colts 37-20, big win against the Bills 25-20, and then smacking the Falcons, which obviously they should, 23-7. So statistically, that's all the model is looking at, is those numbers. So completely makes sense why it would pick the Jags here. If I was forced to choose a spread, like I said, it's probably the Jags. But over under, I'll take the under here. I just think the Niners defense is just so good. I do like the Jags offense, but Niners obviously incredibly shut down, and now we get to see Chase Young thrown into the mix. So that's gonna be nasty to watch. All I really care about is Christian McCaffrey getting fantasy points. Divisional matchup 1, I am quite familiar with. The 5-3 Browns taking on the 7-2 Ravens. Ravens, 6.5 point home favorites, over under of 38. Again, give me that under. Divisional rivals, they know each other well. 2 solid defenses. Cleveland ranked 3rd. Baltimore ranked 6th. I think it's going to be an incredibly defensive matchup. A lot of running. Clock's going to be running all the time then. I really do think this is an easy under in my mind. Now, with Baltimore being 6.5 point favorites and me thinking this game is going to be a lot closer than is expected here by Vegas, I do lean on the Cleveland to cover 6.5 points. The model likes the Ravens to win at 77% win probability, and then a 4.3% edge found on the Ravens. Again, the line less than -200 at -275. Therefore, no bet will be made on this game. Personally, I would like to not play any pieces here, given how defensive I believe it will be. Defenses might be a good play. I will be forced to play Lamar. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I will be forced to play Lamar because Kyler is back. So I think it'll be hard for me to play Kyler on his first week back over Lamar. But Lamar has kind of been a bit disappointing for me lately with everyone else involved in the run game. They're like taking away his points. So that's a decision I'm going to have to make here. So again, for the most part, I don't want a ton of fantasy pieces in this game. It might be just a slow slugfest, defense back and forth. We'll see what happens. I do expect Baltimore to win this one here at home, but like I said, I will not be surprised and might even be confident enough to take the bet here for Cleveland to cover the 6.5 point spread. Speaking of Kyler, he gets his first game back here at home. They're 1-8. Falcons coming into Arizona at 4-5, and they are away favorites with -0.5. Over under 43.5 points. That line also surprises me a good bit. First game back for Kyler. We don't know exactly how he's going to perform. Obviously, he won't be 100% off the knee injury, but he's going to play. Obviously, he's better than any of the other options they've put in at quarterback for Arizona. So that feels like a big question mark. Like, I don't even think Vegas knows. So they just kind of put almost a default line out there. They don't even know really who's going to win. That 1.5 spread is basically nothing. You know, the money line does say Atlanta to win here. But I'm not super confident in that. I almost think with the way Atlanta has been playing, I have Bijan on a team. So obviously I'm just maybe super angry with how they've been playing. But they've looked bad. So I think if I'm forced to make a pick here, I don't think I'll actually put the money down on it. But if I'm forced to make a pick here, I lean the Arizona side on the spread, and then, you know, the spread's so small, you might as well take the money line for them as well. The model, again, model has no idea Kyler's coming back. So it is giving the Falcons a massive edge, 37.499% at minus 116 for the Falcons, only giving the Cardinals an 8.798% win probability. Again, has no idea Kyler's coming back. It has been taking into account all of the previous quarterbacks that have played. So again, proceed with caution. If you do want to follow the model here on this bet, it has no idea about Kyler coming back. So I would wait a week or two to allow the model to consume that data of Kyler actually playing, and we'll go from there. But from my standpoint, obviously, I know Kyler's coming back. I don't want to be too overconfident in him coming back, and I don't think that's why I make this pick. It's more so I've been incredibly disappointed with the Falcons. The Falcons have only covered 2 of their 9 games. So if I'm forced to take a pick here, I'm going with the Cardinals. This will be a fantastic matchup, one you should probably target for DFS. The Detroit Lions coming off of their bye, David Montgomery back and healthy. They go to Los Angeles as 3-point away favorites to take on the Chargers, who are sitting at 4-4. Got the win off the Raiders last week. Good for them. I'm sorry, not last week, 2 weeks ago. I am looking at the Lions. I was going to say, they just beat someone. Okay, they beat the Jets, which they should have. Detroit, I don't think will go down as easy. 48.5 point over under here. It's fun to think they'll hit the over, and I think this is one of the few that I might be willing to take. It's tough. I think this might be one I do take the over in. Lions, well rested, coming back. Chargers coming off 2 good wins, but again, the 2 wins were against pretty bad teams. But they did put up 27 and 30 points here. Joshua Palmer on IR now, which I don't think matters a ton. But they also did not look great against the Jets. Jets, obviously, a way better defense than the Lions here. I'm very on the fence on this over-under. Either way, it's fun to think the over would hit. I want pieces in this game. Eckler, Montgomery, Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Keenan Allen. You know, all of those dudes I would love to have in my lineups. Herbert hasn't been great. So I don't know how I feel about that. Jared Goff, I think Jared Goff might be a better play than Justin Herbert, which is disgusting to say. But hey, that's where we're at. The model, really liking the Chargers here. They really like their statistical output the past few weeks, giving them a 98.48% win probability, which this is actually the biggest edge of the week, 56.818% against the Lions. That seems highly exaggerated. But hey, numbers are numbers. Numbers don't lie. That's what they're going with here at plus 140 for the Chargers. Myself, I'm on the Detroit side. They're well rested. They're a good team. I'm taking them to win and cover. Was able to find them here at Detroit minus 2.5. Giants Dallas, massive spread here. 2-7 Giants taking on the 5-3 Cowboys. Obviously, Cowboys have a incredible defense. They are 17.5 point home favorites. Over under set at 39. Now, normally I do take the under when it is below 40. As we talked about in earlier episodes, when it is expected to be low scoring, it is low scoring. With that said, massive point spread. I think Dallas will put up, 28, 30, 35 on their own. How much do the Giants really need to score? But even if you think that way, can they even score? Daniel Jones is out. Looks like it'll be Tyrod again. Barkley is this entire offense. They're obviously going to game plan to shut down Barkley. Who else gets the ball here? Their tight end? I have no idea. So actually, as I'm talking about this, I kind of like the under more and more, because I think the Cowboys are still going to put up a decent amount of points, and then maybe they just let up. McCarthy wants to be this run-heavy team. This is probably the game to do it. Model. Wow, even at minus 1350, it found a 3% edge for the Cowboys. We are obviously not taking that bet. Not a ton to talk about here. Washington, Seattle. Commanders and Sam Howell go to Seattle. Take on the Seahawks. Seahawks are 6-point home favorites. Over under at 44.5 points. The Seattle Seahawks have been incredibly disappointing. I think this game will be very telling to where they actually stand. They're 5-3. They're up there in the division. I believe they're tied with San Francisco. 5-3. Yeah, they are. So they're obviously up there in the division. They could win their division, but something's wrong with this team, and I don't exactly know what it is. DK has obviously been disappointing. Kenneth Walker's banged up. Maybe we get more Charbonnet in this game, but something's wrong. And the Commanders are the perfect matchup to get right against because they're not a great team. So if we see the Seahawks come out here and just kind of shit the bed, that's going to be very telling here going forward, and I think my confidence in them is basically gone at that point. Commanders, they're not trying. They're they want a good pick for next season. They're traded away their entire defense, so they obviously don't care. I don't want to say they don't care. That sounds mean, but they're not trying super hard. So if the Seattle Seahawks can't come out and win this game, that is troublesome. The model likes what it's seeing out of the Commanders. We got another 56% edge here for the Commanders at plus 230. So the model will be taking the Commanders. Really hates the Seahawks for the reasons I stated. Statistically, they've been shit, and that's all the model sees. So model taking the Commanders here at plus 230 to win it all. A disgusting Sunday night football matchup. I don't know who made these primetime matchups. Even before the season started, before Rodgers got hurt, before the Raiders looked as bad as they do, this does not look like a fun matchup for anyone. Why would you make it primetime? I know they have a whole way they go about deciding these things, but man, what a snooze fest this one will be. And it has that super low over under of 36.5, which means I'm taking the under. The Raiders are dogs at home by just a point, but still dogs. No one knows what the hell to think about either team. I I lean the Jets just because their defense is so good. But I don't know who is scoring in this matchup. Obviously, the Jets look absolutely terrible. Zach Wilson can lose a game all by himself. But the Raiders, they might be worse. I honestly don't know. This is going to be such a horrible game. Much like the Chicago-Carolina game we just got, this is going to be extremely similar. And someone has to win. Well, that's not true. I guess they could tie, but that's unlikely. So I lean the... Man, I don't know who I lean. Part of me wants to take the home team and the dog, which is now the Raiders. I don't think it started out that way. No, it did. Okay, so it started with the Raiders as a dog at 1.5, and it has flip-flopped quite a few times. It has gone down to a pick'em. It's even gone down to the Raiders -1. So nobody knows what to make of this game. Honestly, the best move might be to just hands off, take the under. The model doesn't think that way, though, and will be taking the Raiders to win at... it was able to find them at even money. Let me see if I can get you where they found even money for the Raiders. WinBet, WYNN bet, is where they were able to find even money odds for the Raiders. Another, I don't know. This game also, they try to throw the Bills in a matchup and make it primetime just because it's the Bills and they have all their bandwagon fans, but it's also the Broncos, and that just immediately brings down my interest. Bills, they're 5-4. It's horrible. The Jets are 5-4, aren't they? No, they're 4-4. Yikes. So the Bills are 5-4 here. They are 7.5 point home favorites. Over under set to 46.5 points. I don't like that either. I lean towards that under. I don't know. Denver, I don't see Denver scoring a whole bunch. I'm going to take that under here. The Bills, I hate Russell Wilson as well, so take that into account when I'm talking about him here. Like I said, I don't know how Denver scores, so I think I take the Bills to cover 7.5 points. That feels like kind of a lot, but if I had to make a choice, I think I do take the Bills to cover here. The 7.5 point spread. The model, weird as hell. I mean, has Buffalo really been that disappointing? I mean, they haven't been great. They lost against Cincy, win against Tampa, lost against New England, and might be taking that into account. Well, it definitely is. I know it is. I built the damn thing, so I know it's taking that into account. Yeah, a bit disappointing here for Buffalo. However, I don't think it's been disappointing enough for the model to be like, yeah, we straight up think the Broncos are going to win. 85% win probability. That's absurd to me. But hey, model has some balls here to take this bet. 50. Is this it? This might be the biggest edge. It is. Okay. Man, I thought the 56% edges were going to be the highest. Nope, 59.411% for the Denver Broncos to beat the Bills at plus 290 is what the model is taking the Broncos at. So scary there. I mean, I have to place the bet because I said that's the show. I placed the bets that the model makes. But if I wasn't doing that, I would not be taking that bet. I'm scared of that. I can't bet on Russell Wilson at all. So keep that in mind. But that does it for this week's matchups, week 10. About halfway. So next episode, I would like to go through my over-under team wins, see where we stand, see if anything changes in my thoughts of who's going to win the Super Bowl, make it to the Super Bowl, make it to the playoffs, etc. And we'll go from there. Awesome. Keep an eye on the website for all of the official locked in bets, sleepingwiththenumbers.com/bets. Also, if you want to follow our little TikTok, it is SWTN_podcast. I post the DraftKings lineups I put there. People are very angry with some of these lineups I make. Like I put the lineup out there last week, and I think we're maybe 5 minutes into the game starting, and I'm getting comments like, your team fucking sucks, and then someone's like, yeah, facts. And I'm like, bro, we're fucking 5 minutes into the game. How do you know it sucks? And it cashed. So I don't know. Man, people on like the sports betting Twitter, they're just angry. So it's all good. It's all good. But it's just kind of funny to see. I was like, damn, they hate this lineup. All good. It's just funny to watch. Check that out if you want to see those comments. It's fun. But yeah, keep an eye on that. Main website, sleepingwiththenumbers.com. That's where all of the official bets will be. Cool. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.